I was 14 years old when I learned that my body didn't belong to me. It never had. The henna was still wet on my hands, deep burgundy patterns crawling up my arms like chains made of flowers. Beautiful chains. Expensive chains. The kind that cost 3 women an entire day to paint. My aunt held my wrist steady while another woman worked the paste into my skin, whispering blessings I didn't want. Fertility. Obedience. A long life serving my husband well. My husband. He was 61 years old. I'd met him twice. Both times, he stared at my body the way my father examined livestock at the market, calculating value, checking for defects, deciding if the investment was sound. The wedding was in 6 hours. I sat perfectly still in that chair, the chair positioned in front of the gilt mirror in my mother's bedroom, and I watched my reflection disappear. With every layer they added, I vanished a little more. Foundation 2 shades lighter than my skin because fair is beautiful, dark is shameful. Kohl so thick around my eyes I looked like I was already mourning. Lipstick the color of blood. The wedding dress hung behind me like a ghost, waiting to possess me. White silk. Gold embroidery. A veil so heavy it would bow my head without anyone forcing it down. You look like a queen, my aunt said, stepping back to admire her work. I looked like a corpse. But I smiled. Because that's what girls do. We smile. We say thank you. We pretend that the prison they're building around us is a palace, and we're grateful for it. Let me take you back. Back before the henna and the dress and the old man's cold stare. Back to when I still thought I mattered. I was 7 years old the first time I realized I was less than my brothers. It was Eid, and my father handed out gifts. My brothers, Ahmed and Khalil, got bicycles. Shiny red bicycles with bells and baskets and streamers on the handlebars. They screamed with joy and rode circles in our courtyard, and I waited. I waited for my bicycle. My father looked at me, and then he handed me a doll. A plastic doll with painted eyes and a pink dress. Why don't I get a bicycle? I asked. My father's face went dark. Girls don't ride bicycles. It's not proper. But I want to. His hand moved so fast I didn't see it coming. The slap echoed off the courtyard walls. My brother stopped riding. My mother appeared in the doorway, silent. She didn't run to me. She didn't tell him to stop. She just stood there, her eyes saying what her mouth couldn't, be quiet. Don't make it worse. I learned that day. Girls don't want. Girls don't ask. Girls don't speak unless spoken to. I was 9 when they took me out of school. My brothers continued. Ahmed talked about becoming an engineer. Khalil wanted to be a doctor. I wanted to be a teacher. I loved books, loved the way words could build whole worlds, the way stories could take you somewhere else, somewhere free. She's learned enough, my father announced one morning. From now on, she stays home. Helps her mother. But Baba, I started. That look. That cold, dead look that turned my blood to ice. A girl's education is in the kitchen. In serving. In silence. You want to shame me by arguing? I shook my head. I gathered my books, my precious books, and I put them in a box. My mother took the box that night. I never saw it again. I was 11 when my body betrayed me. I woke up one morning with blood on my sheets, cramping pain in my belly, and terror in my heart because I didn't understand. I ran to my mother, crying, thinking I was dying. She looked at the blood, and something in her face broke. Like she was watching a door close forever. You're a woman now, she whispered, pulling me into the bathroom. Everything changes now. She was right. That afternoon, my father called me into his office. He didn't look at my face. He looked at my body, the body that had just announced its readiness, its potential, its value on the marriage market. From now on, he said, you wear hijab. Full hijab. No skin showing except your face and hands. You don't leave this house without a male family member. You don't speak to boys. You don't laugh loudly. You don't draw attention. Do you understand? I nodded, mute. Your honor is our family's honor. If you damage it, if you shame us, there will be consequences. He didn't explain what consequences meant. He didn't have to. I'd heard the stories. Every girl heard the stories. Amina, who smiled at a boy at the market, married off at 13 to a man in another city. Fatima, who refused an engagement, found in the river with stones in her pockets. Layla, who ran away, brought back by her brothers and never seen again. The veil went on the next day. Black fabric, suffocating in the summer heat, erasing me from the world. I became a shadow. A shape. A thing that moved through rooms and served tea and existed only in relation to men, my father's daughter, my brother's sister, and soon, someone's wife. I was 13 when the visitors came. Important men. Business associates of my father. I served them tea with trembling hands, eyes down, silent as furniture. One of them, an old man with a gray beard and rings on every finger, watched me pour. I felt his eyes like hands, touching, assessing, claiming. After they left, my father called me back to his office. Sheikh Abdullah has made an offer, he said. No preamble. No gentleness. Just transaction. A very generous offer. The wedding will be in 6 months, after your 14th birthday. The room tilted. The walls pressed in. I couldn't breathe, couldn't think, couldn't. Do I? My voice cracked. Do I have a choice? My father stood. Walked to me. Put his hand on my shoulder. Not affection. Ownership. You have the honor of serving your family, he said. This alliance will secure our business. Your brother's futures. Our family name. You have the choice to obey, or to destroy everyone you love. That night, I prayed for the first time with real desperation. I prostrated myself on the prayer mat in my room, the room that felt smaller every day, like it was swallowing me, and I begged Allah. Please, I whispered into the dark. Please don't make me do this. Please make me disappear. Please, just let me die. The ceiling was silent. Allah didn't answer. He never did. Sheikh Abdullah came to our house every Friday after that first meeting. Every single Friday for 6 months. My father would call me to serve tea, and I would enter that living room with the silver tray shaking in my hands, and I would feel his eyes on me like a disease crawling across my skin. He never spoke to me directly. That would have been improper. He spoke about me. To my father. While I stood there, invisible and displayed at the same time. She's small, he said once, stirring sugar into his tea. Will she be strong enough for children? My father laughed. Actually laughed. Her mother bore 5 children. Good hips run in the family. I was 13 years old, and 2 men were discussing my hips like I was a breeding mare. I stared at the carpet, an ornate red Persian rug my mother was so proud of, and I counted the patterns. Anything to leave my body. Anything to not be there. And her temperament? Sheikh Abdullah asked. I've had trouble with wives who had too much spirit. I felt my father's warning glance without even looking up. She's obedient, he said. The word was a threat and a promise. Well-trained. She knows a woman's place. Sheikh Abdullah made a sound of approval. Good. My last wife forgot her place. Had to be corrected frequently. I prefer a wife who learns quickly. The tea tray rattled. My hands were shaking so badly the cups knocked against each other. My father's eyes blazed at me. I steadied my hands by digging my nails into my palms until I felt blood under my fingernails. You may go, my father said. I fled. I found my mother in the kitchen, kneading dough for tomorrow's bread. Her hands worked mechanically, rhythmically, the way they'd worked for 30 years. I stood in the doorway, and I wanted to scream. I wanted to shake her. I wanted her to look at me and see me and save me. "Ummy," I whispered. She didn't stop kneading. "Ummy, please. I can't marry him. He's old. He talks about his last wife like she was an animal he had to beat into submission. Please. Please tell Baba I can't." "You can." Her voice was flat. Empty. "You will." "But Ummy." She finally looked up. Her eyes were dead. That's the only word for it. Whatever light had once lived behind them had been extinguished so long ago I couldn't remember ever seeing it. "Do you think I wanted your father?" she asked. I was 15. He was 32. I cried for a month. I begged my mother. I begged Allah. And then I married him. And I survived. And you will survive. That's not living, I choked out. That's just not dying. She returned to her dough. For women like us, Habibti, that's the same thing. The months crawled by like a funeral procession. My 14th birthday came and went, no celebration, just a marker, a countdown. The wedding was being planned around me, not for me. My aunts discussed flowers and feast menus. My father negotiated the mahr, the bride price. 50,000 rials. A business partnership. Shares in Sheikh Abdullah's import company. I was worth 50,000 rials and a business deal. My brothers avoided me during those months. Ahmed, who used to sneak me sweets from the market, wouldn't meet my eyes. Khalil, who once taught me to fly a kite on the roof when no one was watching, stopped speaking to me altogether. I was already a ghost to them. Already mourned and buried. 3 months before the wedding, Sheikh Abdullah's daughter came to visit. To inspect the future wife, I suppose. To make sure I was suitable to replace her dead mother. Her name was Miriam. She was 34 years old, 20 years older than me. Old enough to be my mother. She would be my stepdaughter. We sat in the women's quarters while my mother served coffee. Miriam studied me with something that wasn't quite pity. More like resignation. Like she was looking at a younger version of herself, walking toward the same cliff. "You're very young," she said finally. I said nothing. Girls don't speak unless asked a direct question. My father is not an easy man. She chose her words carefully. His first wife, my mother, she died in childbirth. His second wife lasted 3 years before she left. Left? Hope flared in my chest. She divorced him? Miriam's laugh was bitter. No one knows. She disappeared one night. Some say she ran away. Some say she trailed off, glancing at my mother. Some say what? I pressed. Some say my father has a temper. That when he drinks, which is often, despite what he preaches, he forgets his strength. My blood went cold. Why are you telling me this? I whispered. Miriam leaned forward. Her eyes were sad and hard at the same time. Because I asked my father not to marry you. I told him you were too young. He laughed at me. Called me a barren spinster who didn't understand a man's needs. She paused. I'm telling you because you should know what you're walking into. And because, her voice dropped to barely a whisper. If you're smart, you'll find a way out. Before it's too late. That night, I tried. I actually tried. I went to my father's office. I knocked. I entered when he commanded. And I knelt at his feet the way I'd seen my mother kneel 1,000 times. Baba, I said, keeping my voice soft, submissive. Please. I'm begging you. Don't make me marry Sheikh Abdullah. I'll be good. I'll never complain. I'll work harder. Enough. His voice cut like a blade. I looked up. His face was stone. You dare to question my decision? You dare to put your selfish desires above your family's honor? I'm not, he's so old, and his daughter said. The kick came out of nowhere. His foot connected with my ribs, and I sprawled across the floor, gasping, pain exploding through my chest. "You will never speak of this again," he said, standing over me. "You will marry Sheikh Abdullah. You will be grateful. You will honor this family." Or, he crouched down, grabbed my hair, forced my face up to meet his eyes. "I will kill you myself. Do you understand? I brought you into this world. I own you. And I can erase you." I understood. The bruise on my ribs turned purple, then yellow, then green. It was still there on my wedding day, hidden under layers of silk and gold. 2 weeks before the wedding, they took me to Sheikh Abdullah's house. "So you can prepare," my mother said. But we both knew the truth. I was being delivered early. Inspected. Approved or rejected like a purchase that might be returned. His house was massive. White marble floors. Crystal chandeliers. Rooms upon rooms that echoed with emptiness. And in the center of it all, Sheikh Abdullah, sitting on a velvet sofa like a king on a throne. "Come here, girl," he said. I approached, eyes down. "Look at me." I raised my eyes. His face was weathered, creased with age and something else, something cruel that lived behind his gaze. "Open your mouth." I hesitated. I said, "Open your mouth. I want to see your teeth." Tears burned behind my eyes, but I opened my mouth. He leaned forward, examined my teeth like I was a horse. "Good. Turn around." I turned, slowly, shame burning through every cell of my body. "She'll do," he said to my father, who stood in the doorway, watching. "Thin, but I'll fatten her up. And young enough to train properly." That night, the night before I was supposed to return home to prepare for the wedding, Sheikh Abdullah came to the guest room where I was sleeping. He didn't knock. The door simply opened, and he stood there, backlit by the hallway light, a shadow with hungry eyes. "I've paid for you," he said quietly. "The contract is signed. You belong to me now. And I don't like to wait." I clutched the blanket to my chest. "The wedding, it's not until." "I don't care." He stepped inside. Closed the door. What happened next, I won't describe it in detail. Not because I don't remember. I remember every second. Every moment of pain and terror and violation. But because some things are too sacred in their horror to be displayed. I'll tell you this, I was 14 years old. I was a virgin. And Sheikh Abdullah took that from me with all the tenderness of a butcher. When he left, I lay on the blood-stained sheets and I stared at the ceiling and I prayed again. "Allah, why did you make me a woman? Why did you curse me? Why am I being punished for existing?" The ceiling remained silent. And somewhere in that silence, something inside me died. Not my body. My body survived, because that's what bodies do. They endure what the soul cannot. But hope? Hope bled out on those sheets. By the time they came to get me the next morning, by the time my mother arrived to take me home for the final wedding preparations, I was already married in every way that mattered. Already owned. Already destroyed. My mother took one look at the sheets, at my hollow eyes, at the bruises on my wrists, and she said nothing. She helped me pack. She took me home. And she never, ever asked if I was okay. Because she knew the answer. And the answer didn't matter. The wedding was in 6 hours. The wedding was exactly what everyone said it would be. Beautiful. 300 guests. A hall decorated with white roses and gold ribbons. Tables overflowing with lamb and rice and honey-soaked pastries. A band playing traditional music while women ululated and danced. My female cousins gathered around me, giggling, whispering advice about wedding nights that made my stomach turn because they had no idea. They thought tonight would be my first time. It was already over. I sat on the bride's throne, an actual throne, draped in red velvet, and I smiled. I smiled so hard my face ached. I smiled while women I barely knew kissed my cheeks and called me blessed. I smiled while my aunts adjusted my veil and told me I was the most beautiful bride they'd ever seen. I smiled while Sheikh Abdullah sat beside me on his own throne, his hand occasionally reaching over to grip my thigh under the table, a possessive squeeze that made my skin crawl, a reminder, "You're mine now." My father gave a speech. He talked about honor and family and blessed unions. He talked about how proud he was to join our family with such a respected man. He didn't look at me once. My mother cried. Everyone thought they were tears of joy, a mother losing her baby girl to marriage. I knew better. Those were tears of guilt. Of helplessness. Of watching history repeat itself and being powerless to stop it. When the feast ended, when the guests had eaten their fill and the dancing had exhausted itself into the early morning hours, Sheikh Abdullah stood. He took my hand, not gently, never gently, and he announced it was time to leave. The women erupted in ululations again. High-pitched celebratory cries that sounded like screaming to my ears. My mother embraced me one last time. "Be strong, Habibti," she whispered against my ear. "Pray. Submit. Survive." That was her wisdom. The sum total of her maternal advice. Survive. I left my childhood home in a white dress and a car decorated with ribbons, and I didn't look back. Because what was the point? That house had never been a home. It had been a waiting room. And now my sentence had begun. Sheikh Abdullah's house felt different that night. Darker. The marble floors that had gleamed with luxury now looked cold. The chandeliers cast shadows instead of light. The emptiness wasn't elegant anymore, it was haunting. He led me upstairs to the master bedroom. Our bedroom. The bed was enormous, covered in red silk sheets, traditional wedding night decoration. Rose petals scattered across the pillows. Candles flickering on the nightstands. A romantic prison. "Undress," he commanded, closing the door behind us. I stood frozen. I said, "Undress. Or do you need me to do it for you? I'm happy to rip that expensive dress off if you prefer." My hand shook as I reached for the buttons. The dress had 100 tiny pearl buttons down the back. I couldn't reach them all. He laughed. Not kindly. Useless. Turn around. He tore the dress open. Buttons scattered across the floor like pearls. I heard them bounce and roll and disappear into corners. Each one sounded like a small death. That night was worse than the first time. Because this time I knew what was coming. This time, there was no shock to numb the pain. Just awareness. Just endurance. Just the slow, agonizing understanding that this was my life now. Every night. Forever. Afterward, he fell asleep immediately. Snoring. Satisfied. I lay awake, staring at the ceiling again, and I prayed. Allah, I've been faithful. I prayed 5 times a day since I was 6 years old. I've fasted during Ramadan. I've honored my parents. I've obeyed every rule. Why are you punishing me? What did I do wrong? Please, 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 answer me. Nothing. Just the sound of Sheikh Abdullah's snoring and my own heartbeat and the terrible, crushing silence of God. The days blurred together after that. Weeks. Months. I can't even tell you how much time passed because time stopped meaning anything. Every day was the same. Wake up before dawn. Perform wudu, the ritual washing. Pray far while my body ached from the night before. Make breakfast for Sheikh Abdullah. Serve him. Clean the house. Pray dur. Make lunch. Serve him. Clean. Pray Asr. Start dinner. Pray Maghrib. Serve dinner. Clean. Pray Isha. And then, endure the night. I prayed through all of it. Every prayer time, I prostrated myself. I recited the verses I'd memorized as a child. I begged Allah for mercy, for relief, for intervention, for anything. The ceiling remained silent. I started adding extra prayers. Tahajjud in the middle of the night, waking at 3 a.m. to pray voluntary prayers, thinking maybe Allah would hear me if I tried harder. I fasted on Mondays and Thursdays, voluntary fasts, extra devotion. I read Quran until my eyes burned, searching for some promise that this suffering meant something. And Allah said nothing. Sheikh Abdullah got worse as the months went on. The mask of respectability he wore in public, the pious businessman, the generous community leader, the devoted Muslim, disappeared at home. At home, he was a monster. He drank. Despite preaching against alcohol at the mosque, despite condemning others for their sins, he kept bottles hidden in his office. And when he drank, he became someone else. Someone meaner. Someone who found pleasure in my pain. "You're too quiet," he'd say, backhanding me across the face. "Cry louder. I want to hear you." Or, "You burned the rice. Do you know how much I paid for you? And you can't even cook rice properly?" Or, "My first wife gave me 3 children in 5 years. You've been here 6 months and you're not even pregnant yet. What's wrong with you? Are you barren? Did your father sell me defective goods?" I didn't tell him that I prayed every night not to be pregnant. That I took the herbs my mother had secretly given me, the ones that prevented conception. Because I knew, if I had a child, I would never escape. A child would be a chain heavier than any marriage contract. But the herbs didn't work forever. 3 months into the marriage, I missed my period. Then another month. Then the nausea started. I was pregnant. I locked myself in the bathroom and I sobbed. Not tears of joy, tears of absolute despair. Because I knew what this meant. I was trapped forever. This child, this innocent life growing inside me, was my prison sentence made permanent. "Allah, why?" I screamed at the bathroom tiles. "Why are you doing this to me? I'm 15 years old. I'm a child myself. How am I supposed to be a mother?" The tiles didn't answer. When I told Sheikh Abdullah, he smiled. Actually smiled, the first genuine smile I'd seen from him. But it wasn't directed at me. It was directed at my belly. At his property expanding its value. "Finally," he said. "Something useful from you." The pregnancy was horrific. Morning sickness that lasted all day. Exhaustion so deep I could barely stand. And through it all, Sheikh Abdullah didn't stop. Didn't give me rest. Didn't care that my body was growing another human being. "You think pregnancy excuses you from your duties?" he'd sneer. "My mother bore 8 children and never complained. You're weak. Spoiled. I should have bought an older wife, one who already knew how to suffer properly." I was 7 months pregnant when I fell down the stairs. I don't know if he pushed me or if I simply collapsed from exhaustion. I remember standing at the top of the staircase. I remember his voice behind me, angry about something, dinner was late, or I'd folded his shirts wrong, or I'd looked at him wrong. I remember his hand on my shoulder. And then I was falling. The marble stairs were hard and cold and endless. My body tumbled, bounced, crashed. I tried to protect my belly, wrapped my arms around it, tried to curl inward, but physics doesn't care about maternal instinct. I woke up in the hospital 2 days later. My ribs were cracked. My arm was broken. And my baby, my daughter, was gone. The doctor, a woman, thank God, a woman, held my hand while she told me. "I'm so sorry," she whispered. "The trauma was too severe. We couldn't save her." I should have been devastated. I should have wailed and screamed and mourned. Instead, I felt relief. Horrible, shameful, overwhelming relief. My daughter was free. She would never be sold. Never be beaten. Never be forced to smile through her own destruction. She was free, and I envied her. "Allah, forgive me," I prayed that night in the hospital bed, my broken body held together with pins and bandages. "Forgive me for being grateful my daughter is dead. Forgive me for wishing I'd died too. Forgive me for hating you." I'd said it. The unspeakable thing. I hated Allah. I hated him for making me a woman. For trapping me in this body, this life, this hell. For staying silent while I screamed. For watching while I suffered. For doing nothing. If he even existed at all. That thought, that final, blasphemous thought, opened a door in my mind I'd kept locked my entire life. What if Allah wasn't silent because he was testing me? What if he was silent because he wasn't there? What if I'd been praying to emptiness this whole time? Sheikh Abdullah came to the hospital once. He stood at the foot of my bed and he looked at me with pure disgust. "You killed my son," he said. "It was a daughter," I whispered. "A daughter." He spat the word like a curse. "Worthless. Just like you. Get better quickly. I want you home. I want another child. A son this time. You owe me a son." He left. I lay in that hospital bed, my body broken, my baby dead, my soul hollowed out, and I prayed one final prayer to Allah. "If you're real," I whispered, "prove it. Show me something. Anything. Because I can't do this anymore. I can't keep praying to silence. I can't keep surviving for nothing. Either show me you exist, or I'm going to end this myself." I gave him 1 week. 7 days to answer. To send a sign. To prove that 15 years of devotion meant anything at all. The ceiling was silent. The days were silent. Allah was silent. And on the 7th day, when I went home from the hospital, back to Sheikh Abdullah's house, back to the marble floors and empty rooms and nightly horror, I made a decision. I was going to kill myself. Not dramatically. Not as a statement. Just, quietly. Peacefully. An end to the pain. I started hoarding pills. Pain medication from the hospital. Sleeping tablets I found in Sheikh Abdullah's bathroom. Anti-anxiety medication prescribed after the miscarriage. I hid them in a small box under a loose tile in the bathroom floor. Every day, I added 1 or 2 more. When I had enough, when I had a dose that would let me sleep and never wake up, I would take them. I would end this. And maybe, in death, I'd finally find the peace that Allah refused to give me in life. I had almost enough. Just a few more days. Just a little longer. And then, something impossible happened. It was a Thursday afternoon. I remember because Sheikh Abdullah had left for the mosque. He went every Thursday to attend the men's study group, where he'd spend 3 hours discussing theology and pretending to be righteous. I was cleaning his office. Dusting the bookshelves. Emptying the trash. Moving mechanically through tasks I'd performed 1,000 times. That's when I found it. Behind a stack of business ledgers, wedged between the wall and the bookshelf, there was a small book. Leather-bound. Worn. The cover was unmarked, but when I pulled it out and opened it, my heart stopped. It was a Bible. Not the Quran. Not an Islamic text. A Bible. In Arabic. I should have thrown it away immediately. I should have burned it. Bibles were haram, forbidden. Even possessing one was dangerous. If Sheikh Abdullah found out I'd even touched it. But I didn't throw it away. I don't know why. Maybe because I was already planning to die. Maybe because I'd stopped caring about rules. Maybe because some desperate part of me wondered, if Allah won't answer, maybe this God will. I took it. I hid it in the bathroom, under the same loose tile where I kept my pills. My escape routes, one permanent, one unknown. That night, after Sheikh Abdullah used my body and fell asleep, I locked myself in the bathroom. I sat on the cold tile floor, pulled out the Bible, and I opened it. My hands were shaking. Every instinct I had screamed that I was committing a terrible sin. That Allah would punish me. That I was betraying everything I'd been taught. But then I remembered, Allah had already abandoned me. What did I have to lose? I started reading. I didn't know where to start, so I just opened to a random page. The Book of John. Chapter 4. It was a story about a woman. A Samaritan woman who'd come to draw water from a well. And Jesus, the prophet Isa, who we Muslims were taught to respect but never worship, he spoke to her. That alone shocked me. A man speaking to a woman alone? In public? That was scandalous. Improper. But he didn't just speak to her. He asked her for water. He treated her like a person. And then it got stranger. He told her about her life. About her 5 husbands. About the man she was living with who wasn't her husband. He knew her shame. Her failures. Her desperate attempts to find love or safety or something that didn't hurt. And he didn't condemn her. He didn't call her a whore. He didn't spit at her feet. He didn't tell her she deserved her suffering. Instead, he offered her living water. He told her about worship, real worship, not tied to mountains or temples but in spirit and truth. And then, this is the part that made me weep, he revealed himself to her. He told this broken, shamed, dismissed woman that he was the Messiah. He trusted her with the most important revelation. A woman. A sinful woman. I read it 3 times, tears streaming down my face. In Islam, I'd been taught that women were deficient in intelligence and religion. That our testimony was worth half of a man's. That our bodies were shameful temptations that needed to be covered. That our purpose was to serve, obey, submit, and reproduce. But this Jesus, he spoke to women. He valued them. He trusted them. I kept reading. I found the story in Luke chapter 8 about the women who traveled with Jesus. Mary Magdalene. Joanna. Susanna. Women who supported his ministry. Women who were his disciples. Not servants. Not property. Disciples. I found the story of the woman caught in adultery in John 8. The men wanted to stone her, to kill her for her sin. But Jesus said, "Let the one who is without sin throw the first stone." And they all walked away. And he told her, "Neither do I condemn you. Go and sin no more." No condemnation. No punishment. Just grace. I found Galatians 3 verse 28, "There is neither Jew nor Gentile, neither slave nor free, nor is there male and female, for you are all one in Christ Jesus." No male and female. All one. Equal. I sobbed on that bathroom floor. Great, heaving sobs that I had to muffle with a towel so Sheikh Abdullah wouldn't wake up and demand to know what I was doing. Because this was different. This was so radically, impossibly different from everything I'd known. Allah demanded submission. This Jesus offered freedom. Allah was distant, unreachable, silent. This Jesus touched lepers, ate with sinners, wept with mourners. Allah defined me by my gender, my obedience, my usefulness to men. This Jesus saw me as valuable. Just as I was. But it was forbidden. All of it. Forbidden. This is the devil deceiving you, I whispered to myself, trying to close the book. This is a test. You're being led astray. Stop reading. Stop before it's too late. But I couldn't stop. Every night for 2 weeks, while Sheikh Abdullah slept, I locked myself in the bathroom and I read. I devoured that Bible like a starving woman at a feast. I read about Jesus healing the woman with the issue of blood, a woman who'd been bleeding for 12 years, ostracized, untouchable. And Jesus called her daughter. He called her daughter and healed her and told her to go in peace. I read about Martha and Mary, sisters who hosted Jesus in their home. And when Martha complained that Mary wasn't helping with the serving, Jesus defended Mary. He said she'd chosen the better part by sitting and learning at his feet. A woman. Learning. Being taught. Being valued for her mind, not just her service. I read about the Samaritan woman at the well again and again. Because her story felt like mine. Multiple marriages. Shame. Desperation. And Jesus didn't condemn her. He offered her living water, water that would quench thirst forever. I'm thirsty, I whispered one night, my fingers tracing the words on the page. Jesus, if you're real, if any of this is real, I'm so thirsty. I've been dying of thirst my whole life. And I don't know if you see me. I don't know if you care about a Muslim woman in a bathroom at 3 in the morning. But I'm thirsty. I started praying to him. Not the ritual prayers I'd performed 5 times a day for 15 years. Real prayers. Conversation. Desperation. Jesus, I don't understand you. In Islam, you're just a prophet. A good man, but just a man. But this Bible says you're the Son of God. That you died for sins. That you rose from the dead. I don't know if that's true. It sounds impossible. But, so does loving someone like me. And this Bible says you do. It says you love the broken and the outcast and the woman nobody wants. Is that true? Do you see me? Do you care that I'm trapped? That I want to die? That I've stopped believing in anything? I didn't expect an answer. I'd prayed to Allah for years and heard nothing. Why would this be different? But then I read John 8 verse 36. I read it, and something inside my chest cracked open. So if the Son sets you free, you will be free indeed. Free. The word echoed in my mind like a bell. Free. 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 I'd never been free. Not once in my entire life. I'd been my father's property, then Sheikh Abdullah's property. I'd been a commodity, a servant, a body to be used. But this verse promised freedom. Real freedom. Not just physical escape, though I wanted that desperately, but something deeper. Freedom in my soul. Freedom from the shame and the fear and the crushing weight of never being enough. Can you really do that? I whispered to the page, to the words, to whoever might be listening. Can you really set me free? Because I've tried everything. I've obeyed every rule. I've prayed every prayer. I've submitted and silenced myself and made myself small. And it's never been enough. I'm still trapped. Still worthless. Still, nothing. I sat there in the darkness, the Bible open on my lap, waiting. And then, I don't know how to explain this without sounding crazy, but I felt something. Not a voice. Not a vision. Just warmth. Like someone had wrapped a blanket around my shoulders. Like invisible arms were holding me. And in my spirit, in that deep place where words aren't necessary, I heard, "You are mine. You are loved. You are seen." I wept. I wept so hard I thought I'd break apart. Because in 15 years of praying to Allah, I'd never once felt loved. I'd felt judged. Tested. Watched. But never loved. This was different. This was personal. The next day, I made a decision. A terrifying, dangerous, possibly insane decision. I needed to know more. The Bible had been hidden in Sheikh Abdullah's office, which meant someone had given it to him. Or maybe he'd confiscated it from someone. Either way, there were Christians somewhere in this city. And I needed to find them. I had one advantage: Sheikh Abdullah had recently started allowing me to go to the market once a week, accompanied by his driver. He thought I was too broken to try to escape. Too obedient. Too defeated. He was wrong. That Friday, when the driver took me to the market, I didn't just buy vegetables and rice. I watched. I looked for signs. For anything that might indicate a Christian presence. And then I saw her. A woman. Maybe 40 years old. She was selling spices at a stall, and around her neck, partially hidden under her scarf, was a small cross. Tiny. Almost invisible. But I saw it. I approached her stall, pretending to examine the cumin and coriander. My heart pounded so hard I thought everyone in the market could hear it. "Excuse me," I whispered, so quietly the driver standing 10 feet away couldn't hear. "That necklace." Her eyes met mine. Sharp. Assessing. Cautious. "What about it?" she asked, her voice neutral. My throat was so dry I could barely speak. "I've been reading. I found a book. About Jesus. And I need to know more. Please. Is there somewhere I can go? Someone I can talk to?" She studied me for a long moment, taking in my expensive clothes that couldn't hide my bruises, my downcast eyes that had forgotten how to hold contact, my trembling hands. "Are you followed?" she asked quietly. "Yes. The driver. But he doesn't pay close attention. He thinks I'm shopping." She made a decision. She reached into a basket of dried chickpeas, pulled out a small piece of paper, and pressed it into my hand as she handed me a bag of cumin. "Memorize this address," she whispered. "Then destroy the paper. Wednesday nights. 8 p.m. Knock 3 times. Tell them Miriam sent you." "Thank you," I breathed. "Don't thank me yet, sister. Following Jesus here, it could cost you everything." I clutched the paper in my fist. "I've already lost everything. I have nothing left to lose." She smiled sadly. "Then welcome to the family." Wednesday took forever to arrive. Every hour felt like a day. Every day felt like a year. I went through the motions of my life, cooking, cleaning, enduring Sheikh Abdullah's demands, but inside, I was counting down. Wednesday. 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 I'd memorized the address and burned the paper, watching it curl and blacken in the kitchen sink. The location was in the old quarter of the city, a neighborhood of narrow alleys and ancient buildings where people minded their own business. But how would I get there? Sheikh Abdullah never let me leave the house at night. Never. The only times I went out were those supervised Friday morning market trips. I was locked in, literally. He kept the house keys on him at all times. I prayed. And I'm not sure anymore if I was praying to Allah or to Jesus or to whoever might listen. "Please. I need to get to this meeting. I need to understand. I need hope. Please. Make a way." On Tuesday night, Sheikh Abdullah came home with news. "I'm leaving tomorrow for Riyadh," he announced over dinner. "Business meetings. I'll be gone 2 nights. My sister Fatima will stay here to watch you." My heart sank. Fatima. Sheikh Abdullah's older sister. A woman more rigid and harsh than any man I'd known. She enforced his rules with religious zeal. But then he added, "She'll arrive Thursday morning. Something about her daughter's school event tomorrow night. So you'll be alone Wednesday evening. Don't make me regret trusting you." Alone. Wednesday evening. Alone. I kept my face neutral, submissive. "Yes, husband. Thank you for trusting me." Inside, my heart was screaming. This was impossible. The timing was impossible. I'd prayed for a way, and the way had opened exactly when I needed it. Coincidence? Or answer? Sheikh Abdullah left Wednesday morning. I watched his car pull away from the window, and I started planning. I had to be careful. The neighbors watched. If they saw me leaving alone at night, they'd report it to Sheikh Abdullah. I'd be beaten, or worse. So I waited until Maghrib prayer time, just after sunset. I put on my full black abaya and niqab, the complete face covering I hated but that would now hide my identity. In those clothes, I was anonymous. Just another Muslim woman. Invisible. I slipped out the back door at 7:30 p.m., my heart hammering against my ribs. The streets were busy with people heading to and from the mosque for evening prayers. I blended in. Just another woman running an errand. Nothing suspicious. I took 3 different buses, doubling back, making sure no one was following. By the time I reached the old quarter, it was 8:15. I was late. The address led me to an old building with peeling paint and a battered wooden door. It looked abandoned. I almost thought I'd made a mistake. But then I saw it, a tiny fish symbol scratched into the doorframe. So faint you'd miss it if you weren't looking. I knocked 3 times. Silence. My stomach twisted. What if this was a trap? What if the secret police were inside, waiting to arrest anyone foolish enough to come? What if? The door opened a crack. A man's face appeared. Middle-aged. Wary. Yes, he said in Arabic. Miriam sent me, I whispered. His eyes widened slightly. He glanced past me, checking the street, then opened the door wider. Quickly. I stepped inside. He locked the door behind me, 3 different locks, and led me down a dim hallway. You're late, he said quietly. We were worried you weren't coming. I'm sorry. I had to take precautions. Smart. He stopped at another door. From behind it, I could hear voices. Singing. Remove your shoes, please. And you can take off your niqab if you're comfortable. You're safe here. I hesitated, then unwrapped the face covering. After living behind fabric for so long, the air on my face felt strange. Vulnerable. He smiled gently. Welcome, sister. I'm Pastor Youssef. What's your name? My real name caught in my throat. If I said it, if anyone here betrayed me, my family would know. Sheikh Abdullah would know. Just, call me Rabia, I said, using a name that meant 4th daughter, generic, forgettable. Rabia. Beautiful name. Come. He opened the door. The room was small. Maybe 15 people sat on cushions arranged in a circle. Men and women, sitting together, which shocked me. In Islam, men and women prayed separately. But here they sat side by side, some families with children, some couples holding hands, some single women sitting freely among men without fear. Everyone turned to look at me. A woman stood immediately, older, maybe 60, with kind eyes and silver hair uncovered. She crossed the room and embraced me like I was her own daughter. Welcome, dear one, she said. We're so glad you came. Here, sit with me. She led me to a cushion and sat beside me. The group was singing when I entered, a song in Arabic, but the words were about Jesus. About his love. About being washed clean. I sat there, overwhelmed, as they sang. Some people had their eyes closed, hands raised. Some were crying. Some were just peaceful. When the song ended, Pastor Youssef spoke. We have a new sister with us tonight, he said, gesturing to me. She's taken a brave step to be here. Let's pray for her protection and for God to reveal himself to her. And then, without asking my permission, without demanding anything from me, they all prayed. Out loud. In Arabic. Simple prayers, Jesus, show her your love. Father, protect her. Holy Spirit, give her peace. I'd never heard prayers like this. In Islam, prayers were formal, ritualized, prescribed. But these people talked to God like he was present. Like he was listening. Like he cared. When the prayers ended, Pastor Youssef opened a Bible, a real Bible, not hidden or forbidden here. Tonight, we're reading from Luke chapter 15, he said. The parable of the lost sheep. Then the lost coin. Then the lost son. 3 stories about things that were lost and found. He read slowly, letting each word settle. The lost sheep. The shepherd who left 99 safe sheep to search for the one that was lost. Who searched until he found it. Who carried it home on his shoulders, rejoicing. The lost coin. The woman who turned her house upside down, searching every corner, until she found what was precious to her. The lost son. The boy who demanded his inheritance early, who left home, who squandered everything. Who ended up eating pig slop, desperate and alone. Who decided to go home, expecting to be rejected. But his father saw him coming from far away and ran to him. Ran. And threw his arms around him. And threw a party. Because this son of mine was dead and is alive again, he was lost and is found. By the end of the reading, I was crying. Do you understand what these stories mean? Pastor Youssef asked gently, looking around the room but somehow directly at me. God is searching, a young woman said. He doesn't wait for us to find him. He searches for us. And when he finds us, an older man added, he doesn't punish us for being lost. He celebrates. Pastor Youssef nodded. The religious leaders of Jesus' time, the Pharisees, they were angry that Jesus ate with sinners. That he welcomed tax collectors and prostitutes and broken people. They thought God only loved the righteous, the pure, the obedient. But Jesus told these stories to show them, to show us, that God's love isn't for people who have it all together. It's for the lost. The broken. The ones who've messed up everything. That's who God searches for. That's who he celebrates finding. I raised my hand, trembling. But, how can that be true? I've been taught my whole life that God, demands perfection. That if we sin, we're punished. That we have to earn his love through obedience and prayer and that's religion, Pastor Youssef said softly. But Jesus didn't come to bring religion. He came to bring relationship. And in a relationship with God through Jesus, you don't earn love. You receive it. Freely. Completely. No matter what you've done. No matter where you've been. But my voice broke. I'm not good. I'm not pure. Things have been done to me. Things I've thought. I've planned to kill myself. I have pills hidden. The silver-haired woman beside me took my hand. Sweet girl, she whispered. Jesus doesn't love you because you're good. He loves you because he's good. You can't do anything to make him love you more. And you can't do anything to make him love you less. But in Islam. This isn't Islam, Pastor Youssef said gently. This is Jesus. And Jesus said, come to me, all who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. That's you, isn't it? Weary? Burdened? I nodded, unable to speak. Then come, he said. Just as you are. Broken. Hurt. Angry. Suicidal. Whatever you're carrying, bring it to him. He can handle it. How? I choked out. How do I come to him? Talk to him. Right now. Tell him everything. Out loud? However you want. He hears your thoughts. He sees your heart. Just talk to him. I closed my eyes. Around me, the group began to pray quietly again, giving me space. And I prayed. Jesus. I don't know if you're real. I don't know if you can hear me. But I'm desperate. I'm broken. I've been beaten and used and sold and my voice cracked. And I'm so tired. I'm so tired of hurting. Of being nothing. Of wanting to die. If you're real, if you really love broken people, then, can you love me? Can you see me? Please. I need someone to see me. I opened my eyes. The room looked the same. The people were still praying softly. Nothing dramatic had happened. But inside something had shifted. Like a door that had been locked my entire life had suddenly opened. Just a crack. But enough to let light in. I whispered. I think I felt something. The silver-haired woman squeezed my hand. That's him, dear. That's Jesus. He's been waiting for you. I stayed for 2 more hours. They gave me tea and bread. They told me their stories. Each person in that room had risked everything to follow Jesus. Some had been disowned by families. Some had fled their cities. One woman had survived an honor-killing attempt. her brother's knife had missed her heart by inches. "But we're free," she said, showing me the scar on her chest. "Really free. Not because our circumstances are perfect, but because Jesus set us free inside, where it matters most." They gave me a small Bible to take home. Thin. Pocket-sized. Easy to hide. "Read the book of John first," Pastor Youssef said. "Get to know Jesus. Who he is. What he taught. How he treated people. Especially women. And come back next Wednesday. If you can." "I will," I promised. "I'll try." I left at 11 p.m., wrapped again in my niqab, anonymous in the darkness. When I got home, I went straight to the bathroom. I pulled out the box of pills from under the loose tile. Looked at them. Counted them. I had enough now. Enough to end everything. But I put them back. Not because my circumstances had changed, Sheikh Abdullah would return tomorrow, and the horror would continue. But because something inside me had changed. I'd felt seen. For the first time in my life, I'd felt seen. And I wanted to know more about the God who saw me. That night, I read the entire book of John in one sitting. I read until my eyes burned. I read until the sun started to rise. I read about Jesus turning water into wine and calling it a sign. About Jesus talking to Nicodemus about being born again. About Jesus offering living water to the Samaritan woman. About Jesus healing the sick and raising the dead and claiming to be the bread of life, the light of the world, the way and the truth and the life. And when I got to chapter 11, the story of Lazarus, I stopped. Lazarus had died. His sisters, Mary and Martha, were devastated. And when Jesus finally arrived, 4 days too late, Martha said to him, "Lord, if you had been here, my brother would not have died." I felt that. "Jesus, if you had been here, if you'd been in my life sooner, maybe I wouldn't have suffered so much. Maybe I wouldn't be so broken." But then I read what happened next. Jesus asked where they'd laid Lazarus. They took him to the tomb. And then, this is the part that broke me, the verse said, Jesus wept. He wept. Jesus, God in flesh, the one who knew he was about to raise Lazarus from the dead, he wept anyway. Because his friends were hurting. Because death is horrible. Because suffering matters to him. And then he raised Lazarus. He called him out of the tomb. He brought him back to life. I sat there on the bathroom floor, holding that small Bible, and I whispered, Jesus. I've been in a tomb my whole life. A living tomb. Can you call me out? Can you bring me back to life? And then, I swear this is true, I swear on everything, I felt him. Not a feeling. Not an emotion. Him. A presence. Warm. Strong. Gentle. Real. And I heard, not with my ears, but with my heart, with my spirit, with something deeper than hearing, I heard him say. Rabia. Come out. Sheikh Abdullah returned Thursday afternoon with his sister Fatima. I heard them before I saw them, his heavy footsteps, her sharp voice criticizing something about the house before she'd even crossed the threshold. I was in the kitchen preparing tea, and I felt different. I don't know how to explain it. On the outside, I looked the same bruises fading on my arms, same hollow eyes, same submissive posture. But inside, something had changed. That door that had cracked open was still open. The light was still there. Jesus had called me out of the tomb. I wasn't out yet. I was still in Sheikh Abdullah's house, still his legal property, still trapped. But I wasn't dead anymore. I was becoming alive. Rabia. Sheikh Abdullah's voice boomed from the living room. Bring the tea. Now. I carried the tray in, eyes down, movements practiced. Set it on the table. Poured for him first, then for Fatima. She's gotten thinner, Fatima observed, looking me over like I was livestock. Are you feeding her properly? She lost the baby, Sheikh Abdullah said dismissively. She's been sulking ever since. Sulking? Fatima sniffed. That's the problem with these modern girls. No resilience. Our mother bore 12 children and buried 4. She never sulked. I said nothing. Just stood there, waiting to be dismissed. Well, Fatima continued, she's young. She'll give you more children. Inshallah, sons this time. Sheikh Abdullah's eyes traveled over my body. She'd better. I didn't pay good money for a barren wife. Every word was designed to diminish me. To remind me I was property, purchased, expected to produce. But something in me, something new, something that had tasted freedom, refused to shrink this time. I looked up. Just for a second. Just long enough to meet Sheikh Abdullah's eyes. His expression darkened. Did I give you permission to look at me? No, I said quietly. Forgive me. But the defiance had been seen. Registered. That night was bad. Worse than usual. Sheikh Abdullah took his anger out on my body, punishment for that one moment of eye contact, that tiny spark of self that I dared to show. Afterward, while he slept, I locked myself in the bathroom. I was bleeding. My lip was split. My ribs ached where he'd kicked me. I sat on the floor, pulled out the small Bible, and I read. Matthew chapter 5. The Beatitudes. Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted. Blessed are the meek, for they will inherit the earth. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they will be filled. Blessed are the merciful, for they will be shown mercy. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they will see God. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called children of God. Blessed are those who are persecuted because of righteousness, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are those who are persecuted. Jesus, I whispered, tasting blood from my split lip, I'm being persecuted. But not because of righteousness. Because I'm a woman. Because I'm property. Does that count? Do you see this? Do you care? And in my spirit, I heard, I see every tear. I count every bruise. And I am with you. I went to the secret meeting the next Wednesday. And the Wednesday after that. And the one after that. For 3 months, I lived a double life. Obedient, silent wife during the day. Secret follower of Jesus in stolen moments, reading the Bible in the bathroom, praying in whispers while I cooked, attending the Wednesday night gatherings whenever Sheikh Abdullah was away or distracted. The people in that small group became my family. The silver-haired woman, Sister Amal, became like a mother to me. She'd been a Muslim too, married young, abused for decades. She'd found Jesus 15 years ago and had been secretly following him ever since. It's not easy, she told me one night. Following Jesus doesn't make the persecution stop. Sometimes it makes it worse. But he gives you strength to endure what you couldn't endure alone. He gives you purpose beyond just surviving. I want that, I told her. I want to really follow him. Not secretly. Not halfway. But I'm scared. Of what? Of everything. Of being killed. Of honor killing. I hesitated. Of being baptized. Baptism. The public declaration of faith in Jesus. The point of no return. In Islam, baptism was the ultimate betrayal. It meant you'd left the faith. It meant you deserved death. You don't have to be baptized to be saved, Pastor Youssef assured me. Salvation is by faith alone. But baptism is an act of obedience. Of public identification with Jesus. Of saying, I'm his, no matter the cost. I want to, I said. I'm just terrified. Rabia, he said gently, Jesus said, whoever wants to be my disciple must deny themselves and take up their cross and follow me. Following him might cost you everything. Your safety. Your family. Even your life. You need to count that cost. I went home that night and I counted. What would I lose if I publicly declared faith in Jesus? My marriage, Sheikh Abdullah would divorce me or kill me. My family, they'd disown me or execute me for apostasy. My home, I'd have nowhere to go. My safety, I'd be hunted. My life, possibly. And what would I gain? Jesus. Just Jesus. Was he worth it? I thought about the past 3 months. About how he'd met me in my darkest moment. About how he'd called me daughter when everyone else called me property. About how he'd given me hope when I had pills under the bathroom tile. About how he'd loved me, really loved me, without demanding I earn it. Was he worth everything? Yes. Yes, he was. Jesus, I prayed that night, I want to be baptized. I want to follow you publicly. I'm terrified. But I'm yours. Whatever it costs. I'm yours. I told Pastor Youssef the next Wednesday. I want to be baptized. His eyes filled with tears. Are you sure? Have you counted the cost? I'm sure. When can we do it? We have baptisms once a month. Secret locations. Next one is in 2 weeks. Saturday night. Can you get away? Saturday night. Sheikh Abdullah would be home. Fatima often visited on Saturdays. Getting away would be nearly impossible. I'll find a way, I said. But I didn't have to find a way. God made a way. The Friday before the baptism, Sheikh Abdullah announced he was taking a weekend trip to Dubai. Business and pleasure. He'd be gone from Friday morning until Sunday night. Fatima will stay with you, he added. My heart sank. But then Fatima's daughter called, an emergency, something about her grandchildren. Fatima apologized profusely but said she had to go to her daughter's house. I can stay alone, I offered, trying to sound reluctant. I won't leave the house. I promise. Sheikh Abdullah studied me. I'd been so perfectly obedient lately, no eye contact, no resistance, no spirit. He thought he'd broken me completely. Fine, he said. But the neighbors will be watching. And I'll call to check on you. If you leave this house, Rabia, I will know. And you will regret it. I understand, I whispered. He left Friday morning. I waited until Saturday evening. I put on my full abaya and niqab. I slipped out the back door at 8 p.m. The baptism was in a house on the outskirts of the city. A house with a large courtyard and a deep fountain that had been converted into a baptismal pool. 20 of us gathered, 15 believers and 5 who were being baptized. Secret Christians. Former Muslims. People who'd decided Jesus was worth the risk. We sang quietly, trying not to draw attention from neighbors. Pastor Youssef opened with prayer. Tonight, 5 of our brothers and sisters are publicly declaring their faith in Jesus Christ. They're dying to their old lives and rising to new life in Him. This is dangerous. This is costly. But this is obedience. And Jesus sees. Jesus honors. Jesus celebrates. One by one, the others were baptized. A young man who'd been disowned by his family. A middle-aged woman whose husband had beaten her unconscious when he found her Bible. A teenage girl who'd been promised in marriage and ran away. Then it was my turn. Pastor Youssef stood in the water, hand extended. Rabia, are you ready? I stepped forward. My whole body was shaking. Rabia, he said loudly enough for everyone to hear, do you believe that Jesus Christ is the Son of God? That He died for your sins and rose from the dead? That He is the only way to the Father? I do, I said. My voice was stronger than I expected. Do you renounce your former life? Your former religion? Everything that stands between you and Jesus? This was it. The point of no return. If anyone here betrayed me, if anyone told Sheikh Abdullah or my family, I was dead. I do, I said again. I renounce it all. I choose Jesus. Then based on your confession of faith, I baptize you in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. He lowered me into the water. For a moment, I was submerged. Under. Buried. And I thought of Lazarus in the tomb. Of being dead. Of being trapped. Then Pastor Youssef lifted me up. I came up out of the water, gasping, alive, reborn. And as the water streamed down my face, as the believers around the fountain cheered and cried, as Sister Amal rushed forward to wrap a towel around me, I felt him. Jesus. Right there. Present. Real. And he wrapped his arms around me, not physically, but spiritually, in a way more real than any physical touch, and he said, "This is my beloved daughter, in whom I am well pleased." I collapsed. Just fell to my knees in the water, sobbing. "I'm your daughter," I choked out. "I'm your daughter. Not property. Not a commodity. Your daughter." Yes, I heard in my spirit. Mine. Forever mine. And no one, not your father, not your husband, not your culture, not even death, can take you from me. Sister Amal helped me out of the fountain. She held me while I cried. While I shook with joy and terror and relief all mixed together. "You did it," she whispered. "You're free now. Really free." But even as she said it, my phone rang. Sheikh Abdullah. My blood turned to ice. I answered, trying to steady my voice. "Hello? Where are you?" His voice was cold. Dangerous. I'm home. In the bathroom. I wasn't feeling well. Liar. The word was a knife. The neighbors saw you leave. 2 hours ago. Covered head to toe, sneaking out like a thief. Where are you? My mind raced. I could lie. Make up an excuse. Maybe he'd believe me. Maybe. But then I remembered. I'd just been baptized. I'd just publicly declared that Jesus was worth everything. And here was everything, demanding an answer. "I was at a meeting," I said quietly. "What kind of meeting?" This was it. The moment. The choice. I could say it was a women's group. A Quran study. Something acceptable. I could lie and maybe survive. Or I could tell the truth and face the cost. "Jesus, help me." "A Christian meeting," I said. "I've been attending for months. And tonight I was baptized." Silence. Long, terrible silence. Then, "Stay where you are. I'm coming home. And when I get there, Rabia, you're going to wish you'd never been born." The line went dead. I stood there, holding the phone, dripping water, surrounded by my church family. "He knows," I whispered. "He's coming." Pastor Youssef moved quickly. "You can't go back there. He'll kill you. You have to leave. Now. Tonight." "Leave? To where?" "We have safe houses. Networks. We'll get you out of the city. Out of the country if necessary. But you have to decide now. This moment. Are you willing to leave everything behind? Your home, your family, any chance of reconciliation, everything?" I thought of Sheikh Abdullah's house. The marble floors I'd scrubbed with broken hands. The bedroom where I'd been violated 1,000 times. The bathroom where I'd hidden pills and planned my death. "That was never home," I said. "That was a tomb. And Jesus just called me out of it." "Then let's go," he said. "Sisters, get her dry clothes. Brothers, prepare the car. We leave in 5 minutes." As they rushed around me, as the plan came together with practiced efficiency, clearly, they'd done this before, I stood in the center of the courtyard and I looked up at the night sky. Stars. Thousands of them. I'd never really noticed them before. I'd spent so much time looking down, eyes averted, making myself small. But now I looked up. And I whispered, thank you. Whatever happens next, thank you. For seeing me. For loving me. For setting me free. And somewhere in my spirit, I heard him reply. Well done, my daughter. Well done. They gave me clothes, simple jeans and a long tunic, a plain hijab. Nothing fancy. Nothing that would draw attention. Sister Amal stuffed cash into my hands. For emergencies, she said. It's not much, but it's something. I can't take your money. You're our sister now. In Christ, we share everything. Take it. Pastor Youssef had his phone to his ear, speaking rapidly in hushed tones. Yes, tonight, baptized, husband found out, extremely dangerous, yes, he has connections, we need the northern route, okay, I understand. We'll be there in 20 minutes. He hung up and looked at me. There's a safe house 3 hours north of here. Run by a Christian widow, Sister Noor. She's hidden dozens of converts. You'll stay there while we arrange papers and transport. Eventually, we'll get you across the border. The border? My head spun. To where? Probably Jordan first. Then we'll see. Turkey, maybe. Or Lebanon. Somewhere you can start over. Somewhere Sheikh Abdullah can't reach you. Start over. In a foreign country. With no money, no family, no documents, no language. I'm scared, I whispered. Sister Amal took my face in her hands. Rabia, listen to me. Jesus didn't bring you this far to abandon you now. He's going with you. Every step. Every mile. Every unknown moment. He's there. But what if they find me? What if Sheikh Abdullah? Then you'll die as Christ's daughter. Free. Loved. Redeemed. Not as a slave. She was right. I knew she was right. But knowing it and feeling it were different things. We piled into 2 cars, Pastor Youssef's old sedan and Brother Kareem's van. I rode in the back of the van, lying down, covered with blankets and bags. Hidden. If we're stopped at a checkpoint, Brother Kareem said, don't move. Don't make a sound. Let me do the talking. As we pulled away from the house, I looked back one last time. At the fountain where I'd been baptized. At the believers standing in the courtyard, hands raised, praying over us. My family. Not by blood. By something stronger. By the blood of Jesus. We drove through the city, taking side streets, avoiding main roads. Every set of headlights behind us made my heart race. Every police car we passed made me hold my breath. Checkpoint ahead, Brother Kareem said quietly. I froze under the blankets. Tried not to breathe. Tried not to exist. The van slowed. Stopped. Good evening, officer. Brother Kareem's voice was casual. Friendly. License and registration. The officer's voice was bored. Papers rustled. A flashlight beam swept through the van. I could see it through the thin blanket, light passing over me, pausing, moving on. What's in the back? The officer asked. Supplies for my shop, Brother Kareem said smoothly. Fabric. Thread. Nothing interesting. Open the back doors. My heart stopped. Please, Jesus. Please. I heard Brother Kareem get out. Heard his footsteps. Heard the back doors open. The officer's flashlight swept over the interior again. Over me. A lot of bags, the officer said. Big order, Brother Kareem replied. Wedding season. Everyone needs new clothes. Silence. Long, terrible silence. Then, all right. Move along. The doors closed. Brother Kareem got back in. The van started moving again. I didn't breathe until we were a mile down the road. You okay back there? Brother Kareem asked. Yes, I whispered. Thank you. Thank you for risking this. Rabia, I was you once. 10 years ago. Secret convert. Forced marriage. My family found out. My own brother tried to kill me, put a knife in my back. Literally. I barely escaped. Pastor Youssef's network saved my life. Now I help save others. It's the least I can do. Tears stung my eyes. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry you went through that. Don't be sorry. Be grateful. God saved us. Both of us. And He'll use our stories to save others. We drove for 3 hours on dark country roads. No street lights. No signs of civilization. Just darkness and stars and the hum of the engine. I thought about Sheikh Abdullah. By now, he'd be home. He'd search the house. Find me gone. Find the small Bible I'd hidden, because in my rush, I'd forgotten to take it. He'd know for certain. His wife had become a Christian. In our culture, that wasn't just betrayal. It was the ultimate shame. Worse than adultery. Worse than murder. Apostasy, leaving Islam, was the unforgivable sin. He'd call my father. My brothers. They'd form a plan. They'd search for me. And if they found me? Honor killing. That's what they called it. Honor. As if murdering your own daughter, your own sister, restored honor. As if blood washed away shame. I'd heard the stories. Every Muslim girl had heard the stories. Warnings. Threats. Reminders of what happened to girls who stepped out of line. Amina, who refused her arranged marriage, strangled by her father, buried in an unmarked grave. Fatima, who was seen talking to a Christian boy, drowned by her brothers in the river. Zara, who converted to Christianity, shot by her uncle in broad daylight. The family celebrated at her funeral. That would be me if they caught me. What are you thinking about? Brother Karim asked, watching me in the rearview mirror. The cost, I said quietly. What I'm losing. What are you losing? My mother. I'll never see her again. My siblings. My home. My country. My language, maybe, if I have to go somewhere that doesn't speak Arabic. My identity. Everything I've known. Everything I am. And what are you gaining? I thought about that. Really thought about it. Jesus, I said finally. I'm gaining Jesus. And myself. The real me. The one God created me to be. Not the version my culture tried to force me into. Not the property. Not the commodity. Just me. Rabia. Daughter of the king. Brother Karim smiled in the mirror. Then it's worth it. We arrived at the safe house at midnight. It was a small farmhouse surrounded by olive groves. Remote. Hidden. Perfect. Sister Noor met us at the door, a woman in her 50s with laugh lines around her eyes and hands rough from work. Welcome, daughter, she said, embracing me like we were old friends. You're safe here. Come inside. You must be exhausted. The house was simple but warm. Rugs on the floor. Cushions along the walls. A small kitchen with a wood-burning stove. And in the corner, a wooden cross hanging on the wall. A cross. Displayed openly. Not hidden under a shirt or buried in a drawer. Just there. Proclaiming faith without fear. I stared at it. It's beautiful, isn't it? Sister Noor said, following my gaze. I was afraid to hang it for 10 years after I converted. Afraid of who might see. Who might report me. But then I realized, if I'm going to die for following Jesus, I want to die with his symbol on my wall. So I hung it. And I've never taken it down. She led me to a small bedroom. Clean sheets. A window overlooking the olive groves. A lamp. And on the bedside table, a Bible. This is yours, she said. Keep it. Read it. Let it feed you. You're going to need strength for what's ahead. What is ahead? I asked. She sat on the bed beside me. Hard things, sweet girl. You'll be here for a few weeks while we arrange papers, forged ID, travel documents. Then we'll move you to the border. Probably through the mountains. It's a dangerous crossing. People have died making it. But it's your best chance. And then? Then you start over. New country. New name, maybe. New life. You'll work with refugee organizations. They'll help you find housing, work, language classes. It won't be easy. You'll be alone in ways you've never been alone. But you'll be free. Really, truly free. Alone. The word echoed in my mind. I've never been alone, I whispered. I've always had family. Always been surrounded by people, even if they hurt me. What if I can't do it? What if I'm not strong enough? Sister Noor took my hands. Rabia, listen carefully. You are strong enough. You've survived a forced marriage. You've endured abuse. You've risked everything to follow Jesus. You've been baptized knowing it might cost your life. That's not weakness. That's warrior strength. I don't feel like a warrior. I feel terrified. Good. That means you're human. But terror doesn't disqualify you. David was terrified when he faced Goliath. Esther was terrified when she approached the king. Mary was terrified when the angel appeared. But they did it anyway. Courage isn't the absence of fear. It's obedience in the presence of fear. She left me alone to rest. But I couldn't sleep. I sat by the window, looking out at the olive groves bathed in moonlight, and I thought about my mother. My mother, who'd married at 15. Who'd borne 5 children by 25. Who'd endured 30 years of my father's coldness. Who'd watched her daughter be sold and said nothing. I'd hated her for that silence. For not protecting me. For not fighting. But now that I understood the cost of fighting, I saw her differently. She'd been trapped too. Maybe she'd wanted to resist once. Maybe she'd had dreams. Maybe she'd looked at her daughter and wanted to save her but didn't know how. Maybe her silence wasn't approval. Maybe it was helplessness. I forgive you, Ummi, I whispered to the night. I forgive you for not saving me. You were drowning too. You couldn't save me because you couldn't even save yourself. Tears fell. Not bitter tears. Healing tears. I pulled out the Bible and opened it randomly. My eyes fell on Isaiah 43. But now, this is what the Lord says, He who created you, Jacob, He who formed you, Israel, do not fear, for I have redeemed you, I have summoned you by name, you are mine. When you pass through the waters, I will be with you, and when you pass through the rivers, they will not sweep over you. When you walk through the fire, you will not be burned, the flames will not set you ablaze. For I am the Lord your God, the Holy One of Israel, your Savior. Do not fear. I have summoned you by name. You are mine. Jesus, I prayed, I'm passing through waters right now. Deep waters. Terrifying waters. Please be with me. Don't let me drown. Hold me. Carry me. Get me to the other side. And in my spirit, I heard, I am with you. Always. Even to the end of the age. I slept that night. Not perfectly. Not without nightmares. But I slept. The weeks at Sister Noor's house were strange. Peaceful and terrifying at the same time. During the day, I helped with chores, cooking, cleaning, tending the olive trees. Simple work. Healing work. At night, we gathered with other believers who lived nearby. Secret Christians. We sang. We prayed. We studied the Bible. We became family. But always, in the back of my mind, I knew, they're looking for me. Sheikh Abdullah. My father. My brothers. They have resources. Connections. Money. How long before they find this place? 2 weeks into my stay, Pastor Youssef came with news. Your husband has filed a missing person report, he said. He's claiming you were kidnapped. He's offered a reward, 100,000 rials, for information leading to your return. 100,000 rials. A fortune. Someone will betray me, I said. For that much money? Maybe. That's why we're moving you. Tomorrow night. The border crossing is arranged. You'll go with Sister Amal and Brother Karim. They'll take you through the mountains into Jordan. From there, refugee organizations will take over. Tomorrow night. So soon. I'm not ready, I whispered. You'll never feel ready, Pastor Youssef said gently. But Jesus is ready. And that's enough. That night, Sister Noor gave me a backpack. Inside, a change of clothes, some food, a water bottle, forged identity papers, and a small wooden cross. Hide the cross, she said. But keep it close. When you're alone and scared and wondering if any of this was worth it, hold that cross. Remember what it cost Jesus to love you. And remember what it's costing you to love him back. I hugged her. This woman who'd risked everything to shelter me. This woman who'd become family in 3 weeks. Thank you, I choked out. For everything. For being Jesus to me. Thank you, she replied, for reminding me why I do this. Go with God, daughter. And don't look back. The next night, we left. 3 of us in a 4-wheel drive truck. Sister Amal. Brother Karim. And me. We drove north for hours, then left the road entirely. We drove through desert. Through rocky terrain. Through dried riverbeds. Finally, we stopped at the base of a mountain. From here, we walk, Brother Karim said. 8 miles. Steep terrain. No lights, too dangerous. We have to cross before dawn. 8 miles. In the dark. Through mountains. With men hunting me. With a price on my head. With everything I'd ever known falling away behind me. I looked back one last time. Back toward the city. Back toward the life I'd escaped. And then I turned forward. Toward the mountain. Toward freedom. Toward Jesus. Let's go, I said. The mountain crossing took 6 hours. 6 hours of climbing in darkness. Of tripping over rocks. Of Sister Amal holding my hand when the path got too narrow. Of Brother Karim whispering encouragement when my legs wanted to give out. Halfway up, we heard vehicles in the valley below. Headlights. Searchlights sweeping the desert. They're looking for you, Brother Karim whispered. Keep moving. Quietly. My heart pounded so hard I thought it would give us away. But we kept climbing. Higher. Farther. Until the lights below became tiny pinpricks, then disappeared altogether. Dawn broke just as we reached the Jordanian border. No fence. No official crossing. Just a line in the sand that meant everything. This is it, Sister Amal said, tears in her eyes. This is where we say goodbye. You're not coming with me? She shook her head. We can't. We have families back home. Ministries. Others to help escape. But you're free now, Rabia. Free. I collapsed into her arms. This woman who'd been a stranger 4 months ago. Who'd become a mother. Who'd risked everything to save me. I love you, I sobbed. Thank you. Thank you for showing me Jesus. I love you too, daughter. Now go. Live. Be free. And when you're safe, when you're settled somewhere, tell your story. Tell women what Jesus did for you. Promise me. I promise. Brother Karim handed me a slip of paper. This is the address of a refugee center in Amman. Show them this. They'll help you. They're Christians, they know you're coming. One more hug. One more prayer. And then I crossed. I walked across that invisible line in the sand, from one country to another, from captivity to freedom, from death to life. And I didn't look back. The refugee center in Amman became my home for 8 months. A crowded building full of people like me, people who'd fled persecution, war, abuse. People starting over with nothing but faith and hope. They gave me a bed in a room I shared with 5 other women. They gave me food. They gave me language classes, English, because that would help me if I resettled in the West. They gave me counseling. Trauma therapy. Help processing everything I'd survived. And they gave me community. Sister Miriam, a Lebanese Christian who ran the women's program, became my mentor. She'd been persecuted too, her family had fled religious violence when she was young. She understood. You're going to have hard days, she told me during our first counseling session. Days when you miss your mother. Days when you wonder if you made the right choice. Days when the trauma catches up and you can't breathe. That's normal. That's part of healing. Don't run from it. Let Jesus meet you in it. She was right. The hard days came. There were nights I woke up screaming, feeling Sheikh Abdullah's hands on me. Nights I curled up on the bathroom floor, sobbing for the daughter I'd lost. Nights I stared at the ceiling and whispered, Jesus, are you really there? Or did I give up everything for nothing? But every time I asked, every single time, he answered. Not always with words. Sometimes just with peace. Sometimes with a Bible verse someone would share at exactly the right moment. Sometimes with a hug from one of my roommates. Sometimes with a memory of my baptism, of coming up out of that water, of hearing him call me daughter. He was there. Always there. 6 months into my stay, the refugee center held a women's gathering. 50 of us, women from Syria, Iraq, Egypt, Iran, Afghanistan. Women who'd fled forced marriages, honor violence, religious persecution. Women who'd lost everything. Sister Miriam stood before us. Today, we're going to share testimonies. Not everyone has to share. But if Jesus has done something in your life, if he's saved you, healed you, given you hope, consider sharing it. Your story might be exactly what another sister needs to hear. Women began to share. Stories of escape. Stories of rescue. Stories of Jesus meeting them in impossible situations. And then, I don't know what came over me, but I raised my hand. I want to share, I said. Sister Miriam smiled. Come up, Rabia. I walked to the front, my legs shaking. 50 pairs of eyes watched me. 50 women who understood suffering. Who'd survived their own hells. My name is Rabia, I began. And I was married at 14 years old to a man 47 years older than me. I told them everything. The forced marriage. The abuse. The miscarriage. The suicide plan. Finding the Bible. Meeting Jesus. The baptism. The escape. By the time I finished, half the room was crying. I lost everything, I said, my voice breaking. My family. My country. My language. My identity. Everything I knew. But I gained Jesus. And sisters, I looked around the room, at these beautiful, broken, resilient women. He was worth it. He is worth it. Every tear. Every loss. Every terrifying moment. Because he sees us. He loves us. And he calls us daughters. The women rushed forward after I finished. They hugged me. They thanked me. They told me their own stories, stories they'd been too afraid to share until they heard mine. I'm planning to escape, one woman whispered. My husband beats me. But I'm scared. Hearing your story, it gave me courage. I've been reading the Bible in secret, another confessed. But I'm afraid to be baptized. Afraid of the cost. But you did it. You survived. Maybe I can too. I lost my children when I fled, an older woman said, tears streaming. My ex-husband kept them. I'll never see them again. Some days I want to die. But hearing that Jesus calls us daughters, it helps. It really helps. Sister Miriam pulled me aside afterward. Rabia, you have a gift. A testimony that reaches women's hearts. Have you thought about ministry? About telling your story more widely? I don't know how, I admitted. I'm just, me. Broken. Uneducated. What could I possibly offer? Everything, she said. Because women who are suffering don't need perfect theology. They need hope. And hope is what you carry. Jesus in the middle of horror. That's your message. 2 months later, I was accepted into a resettlement program. Canada. A small city. A fresh start. I was terrified. I didn't speak English well. I knew nothing about Canadian culture. I'd be alone, completely, utterly alone. But I went. Because Jesus said go. And I'd learned to trust his voice. The first year in Canada was the hardest of my life. Harder, in some ways, than the abuse. Because at least in the abuse, I knew the rules. I understood the system. I knew how to survive. Here, I knew nothing. I lived in a tiny apartment provided by a refugee organization. I worked at a restaurant, washing dishes, the only job that didn't require language skills. I attended ESL classes 3 nights a week, struggling to form English words my tongue didn't want to make. I was lonely. So lonely. The church the refugee organization connected me to was kind. They welcomed me. They invited me to women's Bible studies. But I struggled to connect. The cultural gap was enormous. These women had never been forced into marriage. Never faced honor killing. Never risked their lives for faith. They meant well. But they didn't understand. Rabia, you're so brave, they'd say. And I'd smile and nod. But inside, I didn't feel brave. I felt broken. Lost. Displaced. Jesus, did I make a mistake? I prayed one night, alone in my apartment. I left everything for you. But I'm so lonely. So lost. I don't fit anywhere. I don't belong anywhere. Was it worth it? I opened my Bible, the one Sister Noor had given me, worn now from constant reading. My eyes fell on Hebrews 11. The Hall of Faith. All the people who left everything to follow God. Abraham, who left his country and lived in tents in a foreign land. Moses, who chose to suffer with God's people rather than enjoy the pleasures of Pharaoh's palace. The verse that stopped me, all these people were still living by faith when they died. They did not receive the things promised, they only saw them and welcomed them from a distance, admitting that they were foreigners and strangers on earth. Foreigners and strangers on earth. That was me. Not just in Canada. But everywhere. Because I'd given up my earthly home for a heavenly one. I'm a stranger here, I whispered. But I'm not lost. Because you're with me. And slowly, so slowly, life began to make sense again. I made friends with other refugee women at the ESL class. Women from Syria. From Iran. From Somalia. We didn't share language perfectly, but we shared experience. We understood each other's loneliness. Our little group became family. I got a better job at a daycare. Working with children. Loving them. Protecting them. Seeing in their eyes the innocence I'd lost too young. I joined a small group at church specifically for international women. Women who understood what it meant to be displaced. Who got homesick for places that weren't safe to return to. And I started speaking. Telling my story. First at church. Then at women's conferences. Then at refugee organizations. Anywhere women gathered who needed to hear, you are not alone. You are not worthless. Jesus sees you. The first time I spoke at a large conference, 200 women, I was terrified. My English was still broken. My accent thick. I was sure they'd judge me. Dismiss me. But when I finished, when I told them about being 14 and sold, about finding Jesus, about choosing him over everything, the room erupted. Women rushed the stage afterward. Muslim women in hijabs. Christian women who'd never faced persecution. Atheists who'd walked in skeptical. All of them crying. All of them saying the same thing. Thank you. I needed to hear this. I needed to know I'm not alone. That's when I realized, this is my ministry. This is why Jesus saved me. Not just for my own freedom, but to help free others. Today, I live in a small apartment in Canada. I work at a women's shelter, helping women escape domestic violence. I speak at churches and conferences. I run an online ministry for Muslim women considering Christianity, answering their questions, walking them through doubts, connecting them with resources. I'm 32 years old now. I've been following Jesus for 17 years. And I want to tell you, sister, whoever you are, wherever you are, watching this, I want you to know. You are not property. No matter what your culture says. No matter what your father, your husband, your brother says. You are not property. You are a human being, created in the image of God, valuable beyond measure. You are not worthless. The man who hurt you lied. The system that diminishes you lies. You are precious. You are seen. You are loved by the God of the universe. You are not stuck. I know it feels like you are. I know escape seems impossible. But Jesus specializes in the impossible. He parts Red Seas. He raises the dead. He can make a way where there is no way. Maybe you're a Muslim woman watching this, and you've been reading the Bible in secret. You're terrified. You're conflicted. You've been taught your whole life that leaving Islam means death. And maybe it does. Maybe following Jesus will cost you everything, like it cost me. But sister, let me tell you, he is worth it. Jesus doesn't see you as half a person. He doesn't value you less because you're female. He doesn't require you to earn his love through obedience and covering in silence. He just loves you. Completely. Unconditionally. As you are. And he's calling you. Not to a religion. Not to rules. But to relationship. To freedom. To life. Maybe you're not Muslim, but you're trapped in abuse. Your husband beats you. Your boyfriend controls you. Your father demeans you. And you think you deserve it. You think it's your fault. You think if you just tried harder, were quieter, more submissive, it would stop. Sister, it won't stop. Abuse doesn't stop when you get smaller. It stops when you get free. And Jesus wants to set you free. Maybe you're watching this and you're safe. You've never been persecuted. You've never faced violence. And you're thinking, I could never be that brave. I could never risk what she risked. Sister, you don't know what you're capable of until Jesus calls you. I didn't think I was brave. I thought I was weak. Broken. Nothing. But Jesus took my weakness and made it strength. He took my brokenness and made it a testimony. He took my nothing and made it something beautiful. He can do the same for you. So here's my invitation. If you're trapped, start planning your escape. Quietly. Carefully. Reach out to organizations that help women. Connect with churches that understand persecution. Don't stay in a situation that's killing you, hoping it will magically change. Get help. Get safe. If you're seeking Jesus, keep seeking. Read the Bible, especially the Gospels. See how Jesus treated women. How he valued them. How he died for them. And when you're ready, when you've counted the cost, say yes to him. Even if it costs everything. Because he's worth everything. If you're a Christian in freedom, use your freedom to help those who aren't free. Support refugee organizations. Sponsor women escaping persecution. Donate to ministries that help secret believers. Pray for women like I was, hiding Bibles in bathrooms, planning baptisms that might get them killed. Pray for us. And if you're hurting, if you're alone, if you're broken, if you feel worthless, know this. Jesus sees you. He saw me at 14, married to a monster. He saw me at 15, losing my baby. He saw me planning suicide. He saw me reading that Bible in the bathroom. And he sees you. Right now. Right where you are. In your pain. In your fear. In your desperation. And he's saying what he said to me. Come to me. All who are weary and burdened. And I will give you rest. Come to him, sister. Just as you are. Broken. Afraid. Imperfect. Messy. Come to him. He's been waiting for you. Let me pray for you. Jesus, I pray for every woman watching this. For every sister who's trapped. Every daughter who's been sold. Every wife who's been beaten. Every girl who's planning to end her life because the pain is too much. I pray you'd meet them right now. Right where they are. Show them they're seen. They're loved. They're valuable. Not because of what they do or how they look or how obedient they are. But because you made them. And you love what you've made. Give them courage to take the next step. Whatever that step is. Reading your word. Reaching out for help. Saying yes to you. Leaving a dangerous situation. Forgiving someone who hurt them. Choosing to live instead of die. Give them hope. Real hope. The kind that doesn't depend on circumstances. The kind that comes from knowing you. From being held by you. From being called daughter by you. And Jesus, I pray for myself. Because I still have hard days. I still miss my mother. I still have nightmares. I'm still healing. Keep healing me. Keep holding me. Keep using my story to set others free. We love you. We trust you. We're yours. In your name, Jesus. Amen.